What actually pushes a people from just protesting to a full-blown revolution? It's almost never one single event. It's more like a slow burn, a series of broken promises and rising tensions. The story of the Texas Revolution is, well, it's a perfect case study in how this happens, and it all kicked off with a single, controversial law.
So, let's trace the steps, shall we? We're going to see how a group of settlers went from being loyal subjects to revolutionaries, and it all starts with a line being drawn in the sand.
So where did all the trouble really begin? You might think it was a battle, but nope. It started with the law, a single piece of paper that was about to change everything for the American settlers living in Texas. Now, for the thousands of American settlers already there, this law felt like a direct threat. From Mexico's perspective, it was pretty simple: border control, a way to manage its territory. But the settlers, they saw it as the end of their entire way of life, like a door being slammed shut on their future.
A law is just words on a page until someone actually shows up to enforce it. And in the small port town of Anahuac, that enforcement turned an abstract political issue into a deeply personal conflict.
And here's how things escalated. A Mexican officer, a guy named John Davis Bradburn, he became the face of this new law. He didn't just enforce it strictly, he also really angered the colonists by sheltering escaped slaves. But the real breaking point came when he arrested two prominent settlers. To the colonists, this wasn't just law enforcement anymore. This was tyranny.
So the settlers responded by forming a militia. But here's the twist. Their goal wasn't independence. Not yet. In a surprising move, they actually declared their loyalty.
In what they called the Turtle Bayou Resolutions, the settlers made a really clever move. They declared loyalty, but not to the current government. They declared loyalty to Mexico's Constitution of 1824. And why that one? Well, because it guaranteed more autonomy for the states, which is exactly what the settlers wanted. They basically framed themselves as the true patriots, defending Mexican law from an overreaching government.
And here's where the great irony of the story comes in. The settlers found a champion for their cause, a popular general who was also leading a revolt against the central government, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. He promised he would restore the 1824 Constitution, and you better believe the Texans threw their support right behind him.
It really seemed like a perfect alliance. The settlers' problems were about to be solved by their brand new hero. But then came the switch-up, a betrayal that would change absolutely everything.
The moment he got into power, Santa Anna didn't just ignore his promise, he did the exact opposite. He tore up the 1824 Constitution and declared himself a dictator. The settlers' champion of states' rights had become the ultimate centralist. The man they trusted to save them had completely betrayed them.
And that was it. That was the moment. This was no longer about a single law or some local dispute. This was a fundamental, total breakdown of trust between the people and their leader.
This was the point of no return. The path to revolution was now paved by a complete loss of faith. The settlers came to believe the Mexican government simply could not be trusted to protect their rights or even keep its own promises.
And that's really the universal lesson here, isn't it? It doesn't matter if it's 1830s Texas or somewhere in the world today. When leaders break their promises and start centralizing power, resistance becomes a natural response. It's what happens when that social contract is broken.
Which brings us right back to our original question. For the Texas settlers, the answer was revolution. It really makes you wonder, when faith in the system completely erodes, what other options are even left on the table?